Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. What did they gain by just cuffing us around and treating us like bum boys? We're just chumps. We must absolutely not as a society get into the position of saying, you're 60 or 65 or whatever it is, you have to retire. The CIA has not got anything right in Iran since Eisenhower got rid of Mossadegh 60 years ago. Society will go bankrupt. You'll end up with only 20% of the people actually working and 80% on some sort of benefit. Hollywood has done as much as anybody to coarsen and diminish America's prestige in the world and to dumb down public taste in the United States and beyond the United States. And let me be clear, I want to take care of disadvantaged people. I'm sorry to be such an ignoramus, but I'm one of these people who actually rather venerates elderly people. Aubrey, is it your forecast that people might live to 125 in comparatively serviceable condition, or are we keeping struldbrugs, in Swift's language, alive? Absolutely decrepit people who are technically alive but dependent on a high level of care of one kind and another. Because if it is the first, then you can automatically just double the GDP. The working age would go up to 100. And you get twice as much production out of everybody, no matter what their occupation is. But if it is the second, we're all going to go bankrupt taking care of a bunch of scarcely mobile corpses.
A healthy 60-year-old has a 50% chance of living to 90.
How about a healthy 6-year-old?
125.
Seriously?
It is shocking that a country that had a rise without precedent in the history of the world, from dispersed colonies to world preeminence in only 200 years, should be in such a condition. The world owes the triumph of democracy and of market economics across most of this planet to America, as well as the margin of victory in the world wars and the Cold War. Now, you have been one of the country's most successful businessmen. You've watched as a prominent citizen while the $10 trillion of deficit that accumulated in 232 years of American history up to 4 years ago has grown from 10 trillion to 16 trillion in just 4 years. Now, how concerned are you that this whole thing is going to blow up fiscally?
We have a chance right now to get things straightened out. If they don't get things straightened out very, very quickly, you're going to see a blow up. There's no question. It's inevitable.
Hi there. I'm here about a new mortgage.
Oh, do you have any collateral?
Why, yes.
The whole idea here is to remember that the human body is a machine. It's obviously an incredibly complicated machine, but it's still a machine, and therefore preventative maintenance, periodic preventative maintenance, ought to work just as well to maintain that machine in full functioning working condition indefinitely as it does for simple man-made machines like cars or aeroplanes.
If you can live to 125 by giving up all the things that make you want to live to even 70 or 80, then what's the point? And you know, if you live like they do, my opinion is that even if you don't live to 125, it'll feel that long.
No, it's getting better. You know, the elderly are complaining a little bit more because, as you said a moment ago, they are getting healthier. You know, my wife is 68, which is older than either of her parents were when they died, and she's in sufficiently good state that we still have sex twice a day. So, you know, it's
what are you doing talking to us, Aubrey?
TMI.
Are we keeping you from anything?
Well, it's the Kinsey report for the Zoomer demographic. No one looks at this demographic as having sex or being sexually engaged. They're really interested in different kinds of sex. There's a whole new world of pharmaceuticals that help with the sex acts. You can have sex in a more vigorous way for longer periods of time. There's sex toys that are targeted at the Zoomer demographic that are easier to open, to hold, to use. Why is it so taboo? Why should it be taboo that older people are carnally involved with each other? We just don't see the problem. So our biggest shoots, we have an older couple sort of engage with erogenous zones. So we're, doing the earlobe, something a bit more, crotchy. I don't know how else to say that.
Buttocks,
yeah.
Zoomers having sex. See, and I used to worry about walking into my parents. Now I have to worry about walking into my grandparents. Can I ask you a question about what I understand is an increase in elders, in the older population, of STDs? Is that something you're seeing as a physician?
Absolutely. I ask all of my Zoomers about their sexual activity, and I think they really feel they're very happy that I ask about it, because it acknowledges, A, that they are sexual beings, and it acknowledges the fact that if they are being sexually active, that they need to play safe. I have patients of mine who, you know, might be one of the lone men in a retirement residence, and, you know, they become pretty popular pretty quickly.
In the UK, it's estimated that 8.6% of the elder population is abused physically, mentally, or financially. It happens to both men and women, and is often perpetrated by family members or close caregivers. Due to shame and social isolation, elder abuse is often underreported. When it is reported, it's big news.
When we talk about ageism and so on, we have to understand, you know, nobody actually resents the money we spend on childcare or on obstetrics or on education or even on university. But when we start talking about looking after our older loved ones, suddenly the resentment sets in. You know,
and that's when we start to get the age rage. Exactly. We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
But am I an oddity here? I mean, I think that people tend to respect older people.
I don't think so. I mean,
well, not on your cruise ship.
Not on the cruise ship, and I also live with my 91-year-old father, who's still, in some way, shape, or form, practices law. So he's still very sharp, very viable. Thank goodness he doesn't drive anymore. Yeah. But other than that, he's still very sharp, and just love to hear the wealth of knowledge that he has, that he brings to the table, that you can certainly learn from.
And he doesn't still try and discipline you with that cane? My mom, she's like, I can't wait to be eccentric. No. I'm going to tell you a thing or two.
He just waves the will in front of me.
He waves the will.
That's it.
The United States, which calls itself the land of the free, has 6 to 12 times as many incarcerated people per capita as other advanced democratic countries. The legal profession is a cartel that legislates endless, herniating masses of new laws and regulations and accounts for a scandalous 10% of GDP, $1.6 trillion annually. Prosecutors enjoy an absolute immunity even when they are caught willfully withholding exculpatory evidence. And there are a staggering 48 million Americans with a criminal record, none of whom are allowed in this country. The U.S. is not now a society of just laws, and Canada should not have an extradition treaty with it.
Okay, the money goes here. No tipping.
Where's the business class? I must add my small and quavering voice to those who, in keeping with the leaders of this network, are waving the banner of those who in earlier times would be thought past their prime. It is not necessary to be hyperactive, absurd, or almost psychotic in pursuit of perpetual youth, only prudent in the avoidance of bad things and sufficiently respectful of one's physical self to avoid practices that notoriously shorten our lives. Sir Winston Churchill drank prodigiously, was overweight for 60 years, and said that he occasionally thought of taking exercise, but lay down, cigar and brandy in hand, until the thought passed. He lived to be 90.
And breathe deeply, let your breath do your work.
You might want to loosen your tie.
And breathe third eye.
I want to draw your attention to one of the most famous quotes on the aging of our times. Now, this quote's been ascribed to George Burns, Mickey Mantle. I like to think of it as Keith Richards, who said, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. There he is. Oh, isn't he lovely?
Oh, yeah.
Lovely.
He's only 31.
Exactly.
Thanks, everybody. That was fun. It was good. I think you should cheers to the Zoomer generation. There we go.
Your audience is aging, getting older. But the old is gone. 45 and up are the biggest audience on the planet. And they watch TV, online, on mobile. And they buy stuff. More stuff than anyone else. Programming anything for them? The Zoomer is a 1-hour magazine show of current affairs and lifestyle for the 45 and up audience. The only show of its kind. An actual program for an actual audience. The Zoomer. Television for boomers with zip. Coming soon with Conrad Black and Denise Donlin.